Face. Wait, let's see if we're streaming. Ooh. 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 Hello, yes, welcome. Face. Wait,
Are we going now?
I think so.
Are you streaming?
Yes, we are streaming, but we're not recording it, so I
Oh.
want to make sure the stream is working. English. There we go. Woo.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, now we're gonna start recording. Yay! Welcome everybody to the 5th annual episode of They Can't Commit to a Name.
5th annual.
5th annual.
So it's our 5th year?
Sure.
I'm gonna excuse you because you're sick. I'm gonna let you
sick.
just do whatever.
Yes.
We're gonna have a pretty simple day today. I'm eating mini marshmallows.
That sounds awesome. We're taking care of a puppy.
Aw!
Yeah, my aunt. We're taking care of our little puppy. He's very respectful and very gentlemanly. His name is Buddy. He's very cordial and very sweet.
A gentlemanly puppy?
Yes.
I didn't ever think.
Well, I say puppy. He's probably 3-4 years old.
Oh, so it's just one of those all dogs are puppies.
Yeah, it's small. It's a baby. I love it.
I love all dogs. I want a dog so badly.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Well, I think we talked earlier today about just talking about our favorite childhood books, or like what we read as kids that really influenced us as writers and artists.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, do you want to start us off with the books that like inspired you when you were growing up?
Sure, I think we should just maybe go back and forth, like each say one and talk about it a little bit.
Brief description.
I think one of the earliest books to ever influence me was Green Angel by Alice Hoffman. Have you heard of it?
No.
Or read it or anything?
No.
Alice Hoffman writes these sort of magical. Her stories are always very magical, and I would call it magic realism, where like you're in the everyday world and magic just sort of happens, but it's not like the magic came. It's like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
and
it's just commonplace.
Yeah, sort of, but it's not like everyone calls it magic. It's just like it's like part of the world.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Like how in Scott Pilgrim, whenever they fight and punch one another, it's like they're in a video game, but no one ever actually like calls anyone out on it. They just accept it as that's how the world is.
Yeah, and I think this will say a lot about what I do as far as my stories go. This book is incredibly sad. It starts with her entire family. This girl's probably 14. Her entire family dies in a fire.
Oh my gosh.
And that's within like 10 pages or something. So she doesn't know how to handle it, and she was kind of a bratty kid, like not terrible, but just kind of spoiled. And took everything for granted, and then all of a sudden she's like pouting.
In a fire.
She stays home. She's pouting, and her family goes to town for market or something like that, and the market catches on fire, and they all die. And and she was at home, so she lived.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so she starts to just develop as live on her own in her house, and learning to deal with her grief by herself, and like also because the whole city, or basically the town, was destroyed, a bunch of like post-apocalyptic sort of things are happening, but not extremely, but like there are looters that are like come to her house, and she's like hiding from the looters, and her sister had a dog, and she has to like take care of the dog, and the dog's like her only companion, but she develops this sort of power of, she was always really good at gardening, and then it starts to has like a power over her
kind of like
plant.
Kind of like poison ivy.
I guess, but it's like never explained, and it never really goes too far, except that like she can quote unquote like whisper to the plants to grow, and like somehow the garden gets
Bigger.
more rich. Yeah, and things like that. So it's really cool, and it's like she cuts off all her hair, and like she goes blind because cinders go in her eyes.
This girl
And
has everything wrong happening to her.
yeah, well, when the fire happened, they like lived on top of a hill, and these cinders blow up from town and go in her eyes, and so she goes blind. And it's really interesting to read a book from the perspective of a character who's blind. And yeah, it's very dark, very heavy, but it's a scholastic book. Like it was at the book fair when I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Like it's for kids, but pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So what about you? What have you got?
Oh, green eggs and ham. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so I had a few books growing up. I would have to say that one of my favorite books, it's a book series, and it is like an actual book. It was a book series called the Grey Griffin series. And it takes place in, oh gosh, I want to say Virginia or Pennsylvania, one of the two. And it's about this kid who is very, very wealthy. And his father is a very mysterious man. And it never really explains where their wealth comes from. They have a lot of money. And the mom and the dad get a divorce, and the mom is kind of like I'm gonna live off the money I got in the divorce, I don't want to, have to deal with this, she doesn't really, she's very distant with her own son.
Yeah.
And the dad moves to Europe. So he's stuck in, this little town, I can't remember the name of it, but shit. This little town and stuff, and his mom is just like, whatever, I don't care, blah blah blah. And so he spends most of his time either at school or at with his friends in a little comic book shop or a little card shop. I can't remember what it was. It was a little nerd store, and it was two other friends. It was this little kid, it was this other boy, and this other little girl who always kept iron nails in her pockets.
What?
Yes, because she was definitely afraid of fairies.
What?
So she would keep iron nails in her pockets, so if she ever saw a fairy, she would throw them at them.
Oh my gosh.
It was really cute. But the shop owner is kind of like a Gandalf-esque kind of character. I guess you could say. He was very wise, and he made the card game that they played, or something along those lines. But every beast that was on the card game was something that was from mythology or whatever. And
so wait, the grandfather made a card game?
It's not a granddad. It was just a dude who owns the comic book store. It was an old dude.
Okay, I was thinking you had said grandfather, and I was going, this sounds kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, no. No. But it turns out that the shop owner is actually a wizard. Kind of I guess the best way to describe it is just very much like Gandalf.
Yeah.
And the covers were very mature. They were very. The first cover is called I think it's Revenge or Return. It's called Revenge of the Shadow King. And what it is, it's this foliage with a very subtle hint of a very gnarled face with these very creepy hands coming out from underneath it. And I'm like, this is a really scary title for a book that's made for middle school or elementary kids.
I'm looking at it. It's creepy.
Isn't it creepy? The second one is called Attack of the Black Wolf or something. It has this very creepy looking wolf on the cover. And then the third one is called Fall of the Templar, and it has this abominable snowman creature that you can barely see because it's in a blizzard, but you can see it a faint silhouette of it kind of. And I think there were 2 other books that happened after Fall of the Templar, but I didn't read them. But what it turns out to be is like magic is real. The Templar Knights were, they were not just knights, but they were like they would fight mythical creatures and whatever. And they fled to the New World because they were being persecuted in Europe and all this stuff. And the dad turns out to be a psychopath who wants to destroy the world and reshape it in his own image because the son manages to find the Sword of Excalibur, and the dad finds the Spear of Ragnarok.
Wow.
Yeah, and they try to... the dad tries to destroy the world and recreate it in his own image.
So, what exactly does that mean? He wants everybody to look like him?
No. He wants, pretty much making himself God.
Oh, okay.
He wants to be God, pretty much.
It sounds like you're falling. Are you okay?
Me? Does it? Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I was adjusting the computer.
Falling.
I was adjusting the computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You were just getting farther away.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good now, though.
Okay, awesome. But it was like there were some mature themes. I say mature. There were some dark themes.
Yeah.
But it was some really good books. They were really cool, and they were just very well written, and the characters were fun, and there was a lot of description about what places looked like and what things did. There were werewolves. I remember there was a description of werewolves that lived in a down World War II Zeppelin somewhere in the North Pole.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really cool. There was they turned this entire like Hindenburg-esque shaped Zeppelin into a city, it was like a werewolf city, and they were like, we're safe here, because no one's gonna come to the North Pole, and it was really cool. There was so much descriptions that had like cobalts and stuff. It was really cool. It was a really cool
book.
Yeah, book. And now that I think about it, they must have really pulled from Dungeons and Dragons, because a lot of the creatures that they talked about in the book are kobolds, which are the little lizard dragon things in Dungeons and Dragons. They were a huge part of the Templar or the Grey Griffin series.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was a cool book series. I never read the last 2 because I couldn't find them. I kind of lost interest when I got older, and I was like, I want to read manga because I'm cool.
Because I'm grown up now and I have better taste.
Exactly. I've made a mistake.
I mean, I think we all went through a manga phase.
Yeah, we do, and I still am. I like manga.
Yeah,
but some of it's oof.
Yeah, it's and I figured it out because I've learned a lot more about it now, the way it's made. Mm-hmm. The reason some of it is so, I guess, painful to look at, or it's not as high quality as some Western comics, is because they are produced so quickly.
Yeah.
You'll notice a lot of pages have 0 environments.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of heads and textures. And that's because they're having to produce these issues fast. And
I've seen it where they just literally take a photograph and they make it black and white, and they use that as a background. There was one manga I read where they would literally just they would go to the top of a building, take a photograph of a wide shot of of the city, and then go back down into the office and just turn it into a black and white image and just superimpose it into the background.
Yeah.
And I'm just
did you ever see in Manga Studio, you can go in and it has backgrounds, characters, props,
the 3D design thing?
Yeah.
They character models or whatever that are 3D rigs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can go in and I don't know, it's just anime high school typical everything, yeah. And people use it to quote unquote draw comics, and it's you're not drawing it. You
are an abomination to the work and craft in which we have perfected over the years.
Oh my gosh.
Dads would be disappointed.
No, one time Sam and I were sitting there, and we were like, we found all the capabilities and like the 3D aspect.
Uh-huh.
And Sam did this thing where he like filled a room with anime schoolgirls
Uh-huh.
classroom,
Uh-huh.
and then he went over to Dabs like very seriously, and he's like, I need your help. Like brought Dabs over to come help him with his anime schoolgirl room. It was pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
So let's see. I had one book that I read in I think it was 5th grade. School assigned book. Called Out of the Dust. And it is about the Dust Bowl kind of, you know, the period where it was like a huge drought, and in the Midwest there was no rain for so long that it became known as the Dust Bowl, and it was like everything was catching on fire.
You couldn't like grow anything.
Yeah.
I read about that. Yep.
And
it was like around the time of the Great Depression, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just oh my gosh, it's a very you'll notice the theme here. It's a sad book.
Oh my gosh.
The girl is I would say she's probably on like 10 or 11.
Okay.
And
is she blind too?
No, she's not blind. Her mother is like working in the kitchen or something, and they always had kerosene for like lighting lamps and like heating the stove and things like that.
Yeah.
And they have this like big bucket of kerosene in their kitchen.
Oh my god.
And
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, something in it, something nearby like catches on fire because it's so dry. And it's like attached to the bucket of kerosene or something like that. It's been like 12 years since I've read this book, so I can't quite remember. But the mother goes outside to like call her husband and be like, help us, like it's on fire, and and the daughter, who's the main character, is trying to help. She grabs the bucket to go like throw it outside.
The kerosene bucket.
With it. What?
The kerosene bucket?
The kerosene bucket. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the kerosene bucket. She's trying to get rid of it and like protect the house and all that, but she doesn't realize her mom is like coming back, so she literally throws the kerosene and the fire and lights her mother on fire.
Holy shit, Shannon, you read a lot of morbid stories.
And like she wanted to like play the piano. That was like her favorite thing, and her hand gets on fire and she can't play the piano.
It almost sounds like a comedy. It almost sounds like a horrific comedy.
Like, I'm laughing because it's so terrible. It's just, and I'm realizing
the cat gave birth to kittens, and then the kerosene bucket landed on the pile of kittens and lit them all on fire. Holy fuck.
But it's actually, I don't know, it's written in like a verse style, so it's kind of written like poetry. And like there's, I have it right here. And it's so sad. Also, there's like her mother was pregnant and she didn't die from being lit on fire. She didn't die when she was lit on fire. Burned.
Did the baby survive?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And but then she like but then she dies giving birth.
Oh my gosh.
To the baby. It's so sad. But like the way it's written is like one page here, I'm just opening to a random page, but it's like, tonight for a little while in the bright hall folks were almost free of dust, almost free of debt, almost free of fields with withered wheat. Most of the night I think I smile, and twice my father laughed, imagine. Like, it's just, and that's one whole chapter right there. It's written very simply. It's a very beautifully dark book. Like, it's very poetic and
like a kind of like an Edgar Allan Poe kind of thing, where it's tastefully morbid.
Yeah,
I love Edgar Allan Poe.
Me too. Oh my goodness. I think people about like A Telltale Heart, which is one of his most famous short stories.
Mm-hmm. The one where the guys, where the dead dudes in the basement, or not the basement, the floorboards.
The protagonist lives with this old man, and it doesn't really clarify why or what.
But the guy has like a really creepy eye.
Yeah, he has a creepy eye, and this guy goes crazy from looking at the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night he just like rips the guy's heart out and puts it under the floorboards.
Kalima.
And the police come and they're like interviewing or like interrogating him and blah blah blah. There's the heart beating under the floorboards, and you can tell it's just like he's so guilty about it.
Yeah.
And
the police, like he's the the police are investigating. They don't hear the heart, but the guy's like, and they're just like, clearly this dude's psychotic.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah. My favorite's the
that book's Out of the Dust, the one I just talked about before that.
I'd have to say my favorite Edgar Allan Poe would have to be the Mask of the Red Death.
Oh yeah.
I love that because the visuals that he describes about the rooms of certain color, and how like every night on the strike of midnight, everyone like freezes out of terror when the clock strikes midnight because it reminds them that they're one day closer to dying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. I love like the way he just like, because it's like a masquerade ball and everyone is dressed so beautifully, but at the same time, because everyone's not showing their face, how do you know who doesn't have the disease until at the very end someone comes in with the disease, It's like, I love that shit.
Yeah, he touched a lot on death, and I don't know. I think people get really freaked out by that too easily. I think it's a good subject to address. Clearly, as far my first two books have everyone's dying in fires. But what was your second book from childhood?
Let me think. What would be my second book? I keep getting like. It keeps repeating my voice over the microphone.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
I've heard it a couple times, but not much.
Let me just put this. Okay. Maybe it's because you're maybe yeah, maybe your sound is up too high.
I'll turn it down some.
Okay.
How's that?
I think it's working. I don't know. So my second book. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be annoying. My second book is. Let me think.
I'm hearing it too now.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
Yeah, what's happening?
I don't know.
Tunnel? I'm trying to look and see if I have like two windows open or something. I don't.
Is it fixed? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. We're gonna go.
Okay.
Let's see here. What is my second favorite book? Because I have a few, and I don't know which one to put. I would have to probably say Lord of the Flies.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because I like I always love the idea of just living on an island,
Mm.
And that sense of having to survive. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, this is annoying. Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's not working. Oh my gosh. But no, just like that like how it's like
Are you
huh? Yes.
using headphones when you normally don't, or vice versa?
No, I'm not using headphones.
Okay, you usually do use headphones, right?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
This is really weird. Where's the
I was thinking
technical
it might be the phone.
difficulties? Hold on.
I'm lost.
Oh, me too. Why is this doing?
Well, Lord of the Flies.
It's a good book. I like reading about kids killing each other.
I like anarchy.
Yeah, and kids talking to severed heads of like pigs that like speak to them in the night.
Yeah, it gets super surreal towards the end as they're getting like more and more crazy.
Mhm.
And just I don't know the whole somebody asked like, why did you only have boys on this island? Like, why is it only an island of little boys? And he was like, because I wanted to show like a sort of war type environment, and girls wouldn't do that. And I'm like, why do you think like why do you think that would not be the case? Like, if we're on an island and it's a fight for survival,
it's human nature.
I'm pretty sure that's how it would go. Like, it would go probably not too differently.
Mhm.
But I don't know. It's still a great book, and sort of the different echelons of society and where you stand based on like your appearance or your intelligence or your aggression.
Yeah.
In kid form.
Yeah. What's your third favorite? Oh my gosh, this is annoying.
I have a book called A Certain Slant of Light, and it's about a ghost who figures out how to possess human bodies.
That sounds cool.
And yeah, she at first, when she dies, it kind of starts off talking about her death, and it's very vague because she can't remember it.
Mhm.
But she just remembers like feeling like she was being pulled under.
Hmm.
She's like, no, I don't want to be pulled under. So she kind of like attaches herself to a human, like sort of like a baby leash or something. Like, she's not in that human's body.
You just gave me
but
the
her
best
soul
image of a person. What? You just gave me the best image of a person with like a kid leash with a ghost on the end of it.
It's her soul kind of haunts a person, and like that's how and every time the person she's haunting dies, like they get old and they die, she starts to get pulled under again, so she'll find another person nearby and attach to them. And one day she is attached to this school teacher, and he's like a high school teacher, and she feels like she has these very intimate relationships with these people. I mean, she spends every day with them, only a few feet away from them. But it makes her so sad that like this man that she feels like is her dearest friend right now has never seen her, or knows she exists, or because she can't talk or touch things, or she's very, very invisible, and like she has no influence on the world.
Corporeal.
So,
Corporeal.
Yeah, exactly. She's not corporeal. So, she one day is in this English class that this teacher is teaching, and she looks over and there's a kid just staring right at her. And like, she's like, what in the world? And like, as she moves, his eyes follow her. And she eventually comes to a point where like they're alone, and she speaks to him, and he's like, yeah, I can see you. And she's like, how in the world can you see me? And he's like, well, I'm a ghost too. But they never use the word ghost. It's just kind of implied. And she's like, how are you in a body then? And he teaches her about how there are people in this world that are hollow.
Oh, that's
And
creepy.
and like you can find a hollow person and go into their body.
Bleach.
And what?
In the anime Bleach, there are things known as hollows.
Oh, I never watched Bleach.
Neither did I. Continue what you were saying.
So they slowly begin to like fall in love. Well, it's actually fairly quickly, and they want her to have a body too, so that they can really be together.
Mm-hmm.
And they find this girl who's also hollow, and she goes into this girl's body and gets like, because they're high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like sucked into this girl's life, and she has like a crazy, like ridiculously weird kind of cultish religion family.
Shit. Wow.
And the dad is like borderline abusive, and the mother is just like super afraid of him.
So
like,
morbid.
And she basically, as a result of like being a part of this family, she kind of like turns this family inside out and exposes the father for like what he is, and he's like having an affair with this woman, and like saves the mother, like helps her escape. And but in the meantime, like has, you know, this love with this other ghost who's in another kid's body. And in the end, they save the kids who had like vacated their bodies because they were so miserable in their lives. And like she and the other guy leave the bodies and like call back the souls of these other kids. Basically save everyone by ruining everything. It's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's called A Certain Slant of Light. It was a really, really good. It's also got a very relaxing audiobook. I haven't listened to the audiobook yet, but I heard the sample. And I was like, that voice is so ethereal. But what about you? What's your next one?
I would have to say The Thief Lord.
Ooh, that is on my bedside table right now. I keep trying to read it.
It's a really good book. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but
okay.
It's about these. It takes place in Venice, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group of orphans who are being raised by. Oh my gosh, just repeating. How do we stop this?
Why is this happening today?
I don't know.
It's never happened before.
Do you want me to read? Do you want me to hang up a call again?
We can try it.
All right. Technical difficulties are the best. Boo-ba-doo. Is that better?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Does it sound better to you?
I think so.
All right, let's go with it. Let's try it.
Awesome. We fixed it. Great.
Yay!
So, the thing about The Thief Lord is it takes place in Venice, Italy, and there are a group. There are three parties, I guess you could say, like group of main characters. There is a detective who is trying to figure out a certain mystery. There are a group of orphans that live in a old abandoned movie theater.
Whoa.
Who are raised, or not raised, but cared by this individual known as the Thief Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this, like, the master thief of Venice, Italy. You know,
Yeah.
like, all fear the Thief Lord, you know, like, it's this individual who, you know, brings these children food and wealth and things like that, of things that he has stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something known as the wooden angel wing. It's like this weird wooden carved angel wing with two metal prongs sticking out of it. And no one knows what it is or what it does. All they know is that it had something to do with some sort of carousel a long, 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 long time ago. No one knows
Huh.
where the carousel is. No one knows where the why the carousel was created. No one knows why the carousel had all these. Like the legend speaks that like all the pieces of the carousel are like these very odd figures, like an angel, a demon, I think a centaur. Like there are these very
Whoa.
odd like things that would be on a carousel that you would ride on.
Yeah.
And there is someone is looking for this final piece of the carousel, which is the angel wing. But it never tells you why. Like they're just like it is a certain individual or a very very generous donor has been procuring all of these pieces, and it's like, but why is this person procuring these pieces? And
Yeah.
it doesn't tell you to the very end of the book, and you're like, holy crap. Like you read the entire book thinking one thing, and then it gets to the very end and they flip everything on you, and it's like, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And it's so good. um but it's riddled with mystery, and it's such a good book.
Was that written by Cornelia Funke or Funke? I can never say her name.
I don't know who wrote it.
It looks like Funky.
The cover is the picture of that child overlooking the city, right? Or like a town, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yep, that's a Thief Lord. It's a really good book. One of my favorite
She
twist
wrote
endings.
that. Yeah, twist endings are my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably sounds like a generic statement to say, but people just sort of take them for granted now. They're like, if a book is good, it has a twist ending, and I'm like, do you realize how hard those are to write? Like,
Yeah.
to turn everything on its head.
Like I was talking to my boyfriend about like
I'm
how
trying.
you have to be like, the term of like leading breadcrumbs in a book, and you like
Hmm.
you force the reader or the viewer to just stay with you on this very linear path, and you show them things here and there off to the side, but you make sure that they're just so invested on this linear path. And you could be like, wow, look at this chair, isn't this an interesting chair? But as the viewer, you're like, ugh, it's just a chair, whatever. And
Yeah.
you go out the entire book and you're just like, wow. And then the chair comes back and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you reread
Yes.
or you rewatch or you review, and you're like, the chair was there the entire time. The chair was the murderer. Like, and you're just like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this? And it's because the writer or the artist is so good at, just holding your attention, almost like a like like a hypnotist. They just keep your
Or like a
attention.
magician.
Exactly, they keep your attention so perfectly trained on what they want you to notice, and they can pull whatever they want, and you won't see it until they want you to. And that's the sign of a good writer, because ooh, that's how the Thief Lord is. They're just like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's this? And as the reader, you're like, I don't care. I'm more invested in the characters. And then you get to
Yeah.
the end and you're like, oh my gosh, it did matter. Like
The chair did it.
it was the chair. The chair was the president. Like, it's something like stupid. Well, not stupid, but it's like something so mind-boggling. But you're just like, it all. But when you look back, it all makes sense. It all
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's what we talked last week about Horns by Joe Hill.
Yes,
That's what Horns does.
I
It's
love that
like
shit.
there's this toy just sitting there and whatever though, everything's on
Those
fire.
toys.
And then all of a sudden it's like the toy did it.
But like that's what makes something so good, is that you don't know what like the twist. Like I love a good twist that makes you literally go back to the front of the book and reread it again, because you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this to begin with? Like a twist that gets you, but when you really think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, it was so easy, it was so simple. Like how did I not notice this? You
Yeah.
know? Oh, I love that shit.
One example of and sort of unsuccessful twist
Yeah.
is actually my other book, which is Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good. I've only seen the movie, but I heard
The
the book
movie,
is better.
the movie is amazing, but
Yeah.
the book is just different.
Oh, okay.
They're both amazing,
Okay.
but the story is very different. In the movie, I believe there's like a war going on,
Yeah.
and Howl is sort of like forced to fight
In
in this
in the
war. And
book, isn't Howell actually from our universe and he just goes to that other universe to like mingle and do things?
yes,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Howl
yeah.
Howl is actually just a regular guy from Wales.
Yeah, yeah.
And he has figured out how to come to the magical world, and he's like a successful wizard in
Yeah.
this world, but back in Wales he's like the deadbeat loser brother.
Yeah.
Like he's like, why don't you like get off your ass and do something?
Cuz I'm
No,
a
no, no.
wizard.
But he can't tell them he's a wizard. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, you're crazy.
The ministry
um
will be on his ass.
yeah, but it's really cool. But the thing is, and it's amazing, I love the book. That book
Mhm.
was, I finished it and I literally read it again immediately. It
Mm.
was just so good. But in the end, they try to do all these big twists,
Mhm.
but they're so overly complicated
Yeah, that you just lose
that you're like,
interest.
I don't understand. Like
Yeah.
the dog was the dog was two people.
Yeah.
Things like that.
The prince
I
was the
still don't.
turned head.
I've read that book maybe like 15 times, and I still get to the ending, and I'm like, okay, so the dog is a person made up of other people who were, it's just like it's so complicated. And then like the witch is
The Witch of the Wastes.
old, yeah, but like just kind of, she's not really the bad one, it's like this other it's real, it's just like
Yeah.
it's hard to follow. And when you get to the end where the big reveals happen, no matter, even though you love the story and you love the characters and like you want to stay in that world of Ingary and blah blah blah,
Yeah.
when the big reveals happen, you're just like,
Oh.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
What happened?
That's the worst.
But you also don't care because Sophie and Hal are together, and you're like,
Yay!
yay!
Yay! I love Sophie.
So, but it's a really good book, and
It's
it's very
Calcifer's in it, right?
funny. Huh?
Calcifer's in it, right?
What'd you say?
Calcifer?
Calcifer? What?
Is he in it? Is he in the book?
Yeah, Calcifer's a big part of it.
I love Calcifer. He's one of my favorites.
He is
Mainly because
not.
he's voice acted by Billy Crystal.
Yeah, he's not quite as Billy Crystal-y
Ah,
in the
shit.
book. He's funny. I mean, in his own way. Like, but I think Billy Crystal had a lot more of like the I act
What
like
are
I
you
don't love you
doing
guys.
here?
And but Calcifer in the book really is just kind of like in it for himself for the most part.
Wow.
And but it's not bad. Like you don't really
Yeah.
care. It works.
He's a
It's a
necessary
very
evil.
I would ask everyone to go read that book. It's so good.
It's really cool.
And I really didn't ruin anything.
That's good.
So next one.
My next one. It would probably have to be
Yeah.
mine would have to be the first 3 books of the Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events.
You know, I never read those.
I never read past the 3rd one, but because I couldn't find I couldn't find them.
Mhm.
But I loved them because they were just very. It was like a fancy whimsical world that was forced to be mundane.
Huh.
And it was so like Edgar Allan Poe-ish, where you're like, this is what the room looks like. Like the author would give you the most amazing description of the room, and then be like, and then at the end just give you the most like, kind of like you're like, oh, like the author himself or herself was like depressed,
Yeah.
and you're just like, but you just said this room was amazing, and the author's like, but I've seen better. You know, like you're just like, what? Like it's well, and like the things that were in the book were so like there's a one lady in her back window of her like office. There's a person shaped hole in the window. And you're just like,
What?
the fuck is this? And like it plays a part in the later part of the book and stuff, but like the way they make you feel for the characters, like I remember one character dies. I'm not gonna say who, but there's a character who died, and while I was reading the book, I was like tearing up. I was like, no, no, you're my favorite. You're so sweet and you're so kind. Like it's like this character is so like her character is very she has a character arc where she proves herself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she goes from this very timid person to becoming very more confident. But not until like she's at the cusps of her life, like you know, like the very ends of her life. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's not like she's dying of old age, but like she's about to be like murdered.
Oh.
And but she's starting to be confident. She's like, I have to, you know, I need to do what's right and blah blah blah. And the villain's like, great, I'm going to use that against you. Like I'm going to use like your your self-proclaimed like righteousness, like this desire to do what is good, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. And you know, like I'm going to make it your weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I guess the best description of it is like I guess, and I'm not trying to spoil anything, but like when a parent, when a villain holds a child hostage, knowing that the parent will give up their life to save the child, and
Mm-hmm.
is willing to allow that to happen, you know, like the parent is so
Yeah.
selfless that there's like, you can kill me as long as the
Mm-hmm.
kid is okay, you know? Like, and the villain uses that to his advantage, and it makes the villain in this book is so shitty and disgusting and vile that you're like, I hate you so much, I want you to die. And there are so many instances where you're like, oh my gosh, he's gonna die, oh my gosh, he's gonna die. But he manages to get out, and all the people that are good die, and you're like, oh gosh, and you get so invested in their characters because they're so developed, and they're these good, wholesome people that are just like, I want to do something good for the world. And this villain is like, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. Like, I'm going to use your desire to be a good person and make the world a better place, and I'm going to make that your weakness. Like, and I'm going to use that to like to control you. And I'm like, oh gosh. And it makes you just hate this villain all the more because you're like, you ruin everything he touches, you know, stales.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good twist.
Yeah. I never read the entire series, but I know that it some books are better than the other ones, but it's chock full of that stuff. I have to go to the bathroom, so I will be back if you'd like to tell the people your next book.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
I'll
can
be
do
right
that.
back.
Well, while Connor's gone, um, my next book is called Ever by Gail Carson Levine. And it is about this sort of ancient society, and it's a made up place where they all worship this god called, I think, Admot or something. I've got the book right here. I'm trying to look it up. I think it's Admot. And some sort of mistake is made where the main girl, something she does causes her family to realize that they have to sacrifice her to Admot. And this book is for age 10 and up. But then the perspective cuts over. But when they realize they have to sacrifice her, they're not like, "Oh, we hate you." They're like sad about it, and they're crying, and they're like, "Oh, but according to the scriptures, we have to sacrifice you." And she sort of leaves off there, and then it cuts over to this perspective of this this god who's like a young god of the wind or something like that, and he sees her and sort of falls for her and all these things, and it comes to develop that it's like a pantheon of gods. You're back.
Yay,
I'm talking about the book Ever,
Oh.
which I haven't described much, but basically there's a god called Admot, and all these people like follow this god Admot, and this girl messes up. She's going to be sacrificed to Admot, and then the perspective cuts over to this young god of the wind, and he sees her and falls in love with her, and there's a pantheon of gods, sort of like Greek god style. And they meet, and she tells him, like, oh, well, I have to be sacrificed to Admot, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what's Admot?
Oh, wow.
And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, the great, all-powerful god, something, something. And he's like, there's no such person. He's like, that's not a god. There's no god named Admot. And he's like, I'm a god. I know all the gods. There's no god Admot. And I don't know, it's like this really cool thing of calling kids to like sort of question what they're told. And because it's the whole book starts out, she has like this very happy, peaceful life, and all her family follows this pretty dark religion, I would say, of this great, powerful god who, for some reason, I can't remember what she does, that makes her have to be sacrificed to him, because her family's like really sad about it. They don't want to sacrifice her, but they're like, we have to sacrifice you. And then to find out that god doesn't even exist, like, I don't know. It's a really cool book, and but it's written very simply. And it's got a cute ending, like good ending. But it touches on some heavy stuff. It's smart and it's simple. Yeah.
I can't really think of any other books that I read.
Okay, well. Are there any stories you've read lately that have just kind of blown your mind, or movies you've seen, or games you've played?
I saw Hidden Figures.
Oh, how was that? How was that?
Oh, I cried like 5 times.
Oh, really?
It was so good. I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a good movie. I love all the actresses, like the main roles. I love all those actresses. They're great. Like,
yeah.
I can't remember, but the lady that was from The Help. Have you ever seen The Help?
Yeah, I have.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, it's I saw Moana.
Did you like it?
This week. It was amazing. I was not expecting to like it.
Wasn't the water just absolutely gorgeous?
It was adorable too. The water was a character.
Yeah, and it was like, it looked so refreshing. Like you just wanted to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
I love the grandma.
All of
the grandma was hilarious.
Great. The what?
The grandma.
What?
The grandmother.
Oh, the grandmother. Yeah. Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She was hilarious, but I gotta say my favorite was the chicken.
Yeah, Polo? No.
Hey.
Hey. Yes.
Hey, the stupid chicken.
Hey, the stupid chicken. I like how he's like, you're a princess. She's like, what do you mean? He's like, you wear a dress and you have an animal companion. Even though her animal companion's like brain dead.
Yeah. I thought the pig was gonna be her animal companion for the film. But then they're like, nope, it's the dumb chicken.
It's the dumb chicken. I'm like, yeah. Hey.
Which I was much happier about. And but yeah, the movies from Disney lately, like the sort of 3D animated movies, I have not liked.
You didn't like Zootopia?
No.
Is it because they're all animals? Well,
yeah, but I tried to look past that and be like, all right, let's make this let's see how the writing is, and there were only a few moments in Zootopia that I was like, oh, this is funny. And
My favorite movie, Shannon. It's like one of my favorite movies.
well, I guess we can't be friends anymore. I don't know.
I guess this is the end of this journey. Getting the fifth and final episode of.
Yeah.
No.
No, I didn't really like Zootopia, and
Zo-
what were some other ones that came out recently from
Frozen.
Disney like that? Oh, nobody like. I mean, okay, somehow everybody likes Frozen, and nobody likes Frozen.
I could not stand it. It was so just like I'm like, what's the conflict really?
I thought it was okay. Like, I watched it, and I was like, all right, but I just didn't see what the hype was about. Like, it had some really nice animation and really good textures, and the expressions were good. And
The villain just felt forced.
yeah,
They were
I
just like,
think
oh
so.
shit, we need a villain. How about we make it this guy?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Where did this come from?
And I didn't like the trolls.
Trolls were weird. They were like fucking chia pets that were sentient.
Yeah, that was a really weird thing to throw in there where they're like, BT dubs was raised by trolls. Cool?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like,
Cool.
oh, okay.
And I just didn't like, I don't know.
If it was the
I liked it
actual
okay.
story of Frozen, like the story, the Legend of the Ice Queen or whatever, or Ice Princess or whatever, that would have been a really cool story. But no.
What is that actual story?
So they are sisters. One is good, one is evil.
Uh-huh.
She kidnaps the male guy, the guy with the moose or whatever. And the Anna character has to go and rescue her, and she has to show her that you don't have to be evil. Like you don't have to be evil. You can be good. Just because you're different doesn't mean that you're evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but she has to fight her. You know, she has to physically, you know, combat her, and you know, to save what's his face.
Moose guy.
Moose guy, yeah, him.
Interesting. I think I saw one much younger where it was her brother. Like, the Ice Queen was just the Ice Queen.
Yeah.
And she came out of nowhere. And then there were these siblings, like a brother and sister. And the brother got kidnapped by the Ice Queen, and the sister was just like, no! And saved him, and then that was it. And I think
that actually is the actual story, though. Yeah, I think that is the story.
Really?
Yeah, two of them are siblings. I can't remember which ones are siblings, but two of them are siblings.
I wouldn't trust this version of the story because there was this company, I can't remember what it was called, but it was around when I was a kid, and it would release these fairy tale films that were just god awful. Like, they did one of Pocahontas.
Oh gosh.
That was just, I don't know where I mean, at least when Disney changed up the story and, like, you know, romanticized it a lot and beautiful and fun and easier to
Grandma
watch.
Willow, the best character.
They took the story and they made everybody really, really ugly.
Wow.
And then the story, there was like this mean guy who was just a totally made up character who was like getting really sick, and John Smith was there, but he was like really old, and they like help the sick guy. It's like it's just this whole weird made up thing, and it's so ugly. I wish I could remember the company. I just remember the intro had this like them like riding on a rainbow or something.
Oh gosh.
It was really, really weird. But they made a lot of films. I think they made like their own version of The Swan Princess, and I think maybe The Hobbit. Like they made their own
success of like other movies.
Yeah, they like copied a lot of and I think they're the ones that made that Snow Queen movie or Ice Queen. But it was just like, these are so just, why do you do this? And painfully bad. I
actually just thought of a book
I don't
that
even know
I used to read when I was younger.
Oh yeah?
called
What was it?
it was the Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love those. My favorite was The Magician's Nephew.
Which is that the first one?
No, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is the first one, but The Magician's
No, it's
Nephew
not.
is. Yes, it is.
It is in the movies, but it's not the first book.
Nope, it's the first book. So the way it was written The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Then it goes to the Silver Chair. Then it's the Horse and His Boy. Then it's the Magician's Nephew, and then the Last Battle. But
Huh.
when he died, his nephew got a hold of the rights and rearranged them to where the Magician's Nephew was the first one because chronologically it happens before all the other ones, but it wasn't written until this. It was the second to last one to be written.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yep.
I did not know that. So what about it did you love?
I loved Aslan. Aslan was cool. Aslan
I
was one
just
of my favorites.
it comes back around to the talking animals, and just not a talking animals fan.
I love Mr. Tumnus. Mr. Tumnus was great.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the story when I was younger. I read a couple of them, but in school we watched the like BBC television series of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like super cheap effects, not very well produced, whatever. But we enjoyed it because it was school and we got to watch a movie and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
But I remember even then they had like these people with like they made the animals talk by like putting people in like these animal costumes.
Oh, that's creepy.
And I'm like 9 years old going, why is it talking? Like even then I just hated it. But I read The Last Battle
That's a
when
good
I
one.
was I think in 8th grade, and man, there's like this really beautiful scene I remember where like the world ends
Yeah.
and they're in this magical field and like everything's starting over again and they're just hanging out and they're like, look, the world ended.
Yep.
Well,
But it's so like serene and just like they accept death.
yeah.
And they're just like, this is just what life is. Like it was very, very, you know, yeah, it was nice.
It was a nice end of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Apocalypse. And wasn't it something like it goes back, and maybe I'm remembering this from some kind of weird theory, or I can't remember if this actually happened. Does it go back and it's like the kids died on the train long ago?
No, they didn't die on the train.
Okay, that's just some theory I heard then.
Yeah, no, they were the some of the children forget about Narnia though. The older sister, she's like, it was just a thing that we dreamed about when we were younger, and it's like, well then why do we all remember it? And she's like, I don't know, because we were children, and it's just like, come on, and like because they live for in the first book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, they live their entire lives in Narnia. Till they're
Yeah.
like mature adults, and they go back through the wardrobe, and they are literally not even like a second after they entered it when they did like long, long ago, and they live an entire lifetime, in the wardrobe just to return to the real world, mere moments after they entered,
Yeah.
as they
That'd be
were.
crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Like to live your whole life
Mm-hmm.
and then go back and be like, never
Yep.
mind.
Yeah, fuck it.
That would be, oh my gosh.
But they go back in Prince Caspian. They're summoned back by Prince Caspian.
hmm
With not Edmonds, who is Lucy? No, not Lucy. The older sisters. So they all had these very interesting like weapons that were so cool. Let me see here. Let's see here. Weapons of. Let's see here.
What are we looking for?
I was just looking at the weapons that they had. Like the siblings had. Yeah. Okay, so Susan had a bow and arrow with the quiver never ran out of bows.
Oh.
Yeah. Lucy had a dagger and a vial of she had a dagger and a vial that could cure. It had a vial of some sort of like thing in it. Like the fluid that was in the vial could cure any wound.
Oh.
Or like it could undo any like if someone was turned to stone, I think it could turn them back. I can't remember. Um and oh gosh. Who I think oh gosh.
Didn't Peter have a sword?
I think Peter did have a sword. Yeah, Peter. I did love Jadis, the Ice Queen. Oh my gosh, she's like the perfect villain.
Mm-hmm.
She's so evil and like she's like she's supposed to represent the devil because she's very manipulative, but in a way that makes you want to do what she says. Like she guilts you. She makes you feel like what you're doing is for the best. But she's a very good villain.
Mm-hmm.
The entire book series is very much based off of like Aslan is supposed to represent Christ. The White Witch is supposed to represent the devil. And, yeah, so it's like there's a lot of like religious figure like stuff in it. Like Aslan sacrifices himself on the stone table for Edmund. You know, which is supposed to represent like Christ on the cross for all mankind. Let's see here. Appearances. Live logic. He had Peter had a sword and a shield, and I think his shield. Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Outside of Mr. Tumnus's house, talking to Beaver found them and takes them and blah blah blah. However, Edmund betraying his siblings and was listed 4 thrones of Care Paravel. The ending of The Witch in the Wardrobe. Here he is. However, Edmund ended up betraying his siblings while they were listening to this, leaving the Beaver's dam to find the White Witch. Mr. Beaver explained that what was happening. Aslan and the Stone Table siblings. Aslan's attack. Father Christmas. Yeah. Father. Yeah. What? Where is it? You're supposed to tell about like what the yeah.
Yeah, doesn't Santa come and give them weapons?
Yeah, literally Santa shows up and gives them like these badass weapons.
Yeah.
It was so like, whoa, Santa Claus, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Oh gosh.
Well, while you look at that, I have to tell everyone I found this really cheap Pocahontas I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
It's by Good Times Media. And if you just look up Good Times Media Pocahontas, it's awful. Pocahontas has a pink dress. And just oh my goodness, it's just so bad. Her best friend wears purple. I can't. I just all these people are wearing colors that aren't possible for this. Oh man, and like that's just the animation. It's like a bunch of the same cycles over and over again, kind of like He-Man or Thundercats.
I love Thundercats.
I know, but I mean, everybody loves Thundercats, but the animation, you gotta admit, is like the
old
same
shit,
cycle.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Just like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And let's listen for a moment to the opening song of Pocahontas.
I don't know if we can.
And across the sea, untouched by greed and poverty.
Like, what? Why does I just? It's very 90s.
Very 90s.
And it came out 1 year before Disney's Pocahontas.
Ugh.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Yes, I did. So these are the
Right.
gifts that Father Christmas gave. To Mrs. She-Beaver, he gave her a new sewing machine. To He-Beaver, he gave him a completed dam with a sluice gate. Sluice gate? I don't know what that means. Peter, he gave him a sword named Rindon. Rindon was a sword owned by Peter when he was... it was given to him by Father Christmas. What does it do? What does it do? The fact... Oh, it glows blue.
When orcs are near?
I guess. I think it glows blue whenever there's yeah. Made tribute to the friendship of yes, okay. So they think the reason it might have glown blue is because J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were friends, and it might have been like
Little weak.
yeah, like a little like my friend's swords glow blue in his stories, so do my swords glow blue. Yeah, in the Voyage of the magical properties, Caspian gives Edwin it towards the 7 swords. Yeah, it glows blue. What? But why? I can't remember why it glows blue.
For fun.
For fun.
For raves.
I guess his sword is just a really badass sword that glows blue.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And what did Edwin get?
Huh?
What did Edwin get?
Edwin didn't get jack shit, because Edwin was a little fucker who ran off to go be with the Red Queen.
You mean the Ice Queen?
Yeah, that guy.
The Snow Queen?
The Snow Queen, yes, Red Queen. What am I thinking?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. And then he just had a really badass shield. Yeah, it was just a shield. Yeah, it was just a sword and shield. There was nothing.
Cool.
I don't think there was any besides glowing blue. I don't think the sword did anything else, and the shield I think was just a normal shield with the visage of Aslan on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it did anything. But let's see here. Yeah. The bow. Susan got a bow and arrow. Hers was awesome. So Susan got a bow and arrow and a horn, but her most prized possession was the bow and arrow. Yes, okay. According to Father Christmas, the bow did not easily miss, whether it was due to magic or some other known ability. So, and I think the quiver never ran out of arrows.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, Susan was given a bow and arrow along with a horn by Father Christmas on the long winter, unknown presently. Yeah, it would just not miss. Which was pretty badass.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then she was given a horn. And so Susan's horn was a in any time of emergency, if she was to call through the horn, help would always come.
Oh.
Like someone would always come to her aid, regardless of where she was or what she was doing. As long as she called through the horn, help would always come to aid her. Which was pretty badass, because that's how Prince Caspian pulls them into Narnia again in the second book. He finds the horn and he calls it, and it literally rips them from our world back into Narnia through like the power of the horn.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's one of the most powerful items in the Narnia universe, if it can actually rip people from other dimensions.
So, how old is Prince Caspian in the books?
So Prince Caspian is about the same age as I think he'd probably be around 20 or 18 or something. He's young. He's probably around the same age as Peter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just remember seeing the trailer for the movies, and it had I think his name's Ben Barnes. I can't remember. They had him playing Prince Caspian.
Well,
And I just
Prince Caspian in the movie Prince Caspian was younger than Prince Caspian in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, because I think 5 years go by in
Mhm.
Narnia, while because time in Narnia is much weirder than time in the ethereal plane or our universe. Like
Mhm.
between book 1 and book 3, I think only 5 years go by, but between book 1 and book 2, I think 500 years go by.
What?
Yeah, it just depends. Like the time like moves at such a odd pace depending.
Mhm.
But Lucy
That's
got
crazy.
she got something known as a cordial. Um, it was a small bottle filled with a very powerful medical potion. It provided it proved extremely valuable on many of her adventures. The cordial was made from the juice of the fire flowers that grew in the mountains of the sun. A few drops would cure almost any illness or wound, and could even bring people back from the drink of death. The bottle that held the
You mean the brink
cordial
of
was
death?
the drink. Yeah, sorry, the brink of death, not the drink of death. Sorry, the brink of death. The bottle held the cordial that was made of a diamond that was carried by Lucy in a little pouch with a bandolier. The bottle apparently contained a limited amount, so it had to be used sparingly. Yeah. Because that's also an extremely powerful weapon if it can bring back, you know,
From the
um,
drink of death.
yeah, the drink of death. Um. Oh, and then she just had. He gave her the little vial and a knife. There was
Little
nothing
baby
special
knife.
about the knife. It was just a knife.
Wow.
Yeah, he was just like, and little girl, you can have a knife. And she's like, thanks, Santa Claus.
Have fun.
Oh, and he also gave a group of talking beasts warm meals of delicious food.
Aw.
Then he was like, see ya, and he just left, and he never came back ever again.
Aw.
Yeah.
They never had Christmas ever again.
Well, they had Christmas, but they never like refer to Santa Claus ever again in the book.
So sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh.
you reminded me of another book I hadn't thought of. The Giver.
Yes, it's a good book.
Did you read The Giver?
I have only read parts of it. I never finished it.
Yeah, it's one of those that like I really like books that are intended for kids,
Mm-hmm.
but that made them think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and The Giver is one of those of this like utopian society, and I was so disappointed. I didn't see the movie, but I saw enough clips of it and trailers that I was like, this isn't The Giver. What is
Or
this?
is it? Oh, okay, yeah. Who wrote
Because
The
first of
Giver?
all, it's in color. Like the whole movie is in color.
That's right, and it's
Which The
supposed to be
Giver,
in black and white because everyone loses the ability to see color or something like that.
yeah, nobody can see color in the
Yeah.
world of The Giver.
Yeah.
And it's like this utopian society where everybody lives in these communities.
But it's
And
like post-apocalyptic too, like the world had ended or something.
it doesn't really say in The Giver. It may say there are some books that follow that I never read, like Gathering Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read those. It just kind of implies that something's happened that established this society where everyone is very afraid of anything outside of this sort of delegated world.
Reformed, yeah.
So everybody's adopted.
Hmm.
Everybody is assigned to jobs, assigned to families. They go to school and they're all taught like the code of the community or something like that. Like it's very strict world. But there's one person in the world that has all the memories of the former world as it was. So like this person is the giver, and he's a very old man, and he lives in like the best house and has sort of like the best stuff, but it doesn't really matter to him. He's like a very sad person because he carries everything. And
Yeah.
so he remembers color and he can see color. He remembers things like war,
Mm.
and love, and um, he has to, as he's getting nearer and nearer the end of his life, the receiver, which is the protagonist named Jonas,
Mhm.
is assigned his career at age 12.
Mhm.
And so he has to go into training with the giver and receive these memories. So you see Jonas learning, what color is and what
Mhm.
snow was, because there's no weather anymore,
Wow.
or what war was. And
Mhm.
then eventually, what?
No, no, continue.
Eventually he learns what love is, and because there's no love in this world, like people don't feel anything anymore,
Mhm.
and they all like take pills to not feel
Yeah.
things. And one day he like goes to his mother and he's like, "Do you love me?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like they just like don't understand.
Mhm.
It's so sad. And but it's so good, and it's just by the end of it, you're like, just whoa, because he gets out of the community and just all these. It's just really, it's big. It's very very short. Um, and I read it when I was 14, and I read it again last year. Um, it's a really good book, but I do not recommend the audiobook because it's got some weird sound, like background music thing they're trying to do that doesn't work,
Yeah.
and it just gets annoying. It's like
Hmm.
this weird piano thing or something. You're like, just stop the piano.
Yeah.
Um, so just read it. It takes like 4 hours to read. It's super easy. Um, but yeah, what do you remember from it?
I haven't read. Pretty much all that I remember was like the world had ended. Everyone was like just like mindless robot as kind of things. Like they felt nothing. No one could see color. Everything was like just. I remember like women were like there were certain women that were assigned to just have babies and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Like I was like this is a really fucked up book. Like this is really disturbing. Like
Hmm.
But I haven't read it in such a long time. I barely remember it.
Yeah, yeah. There are women that are like they're called birth mothers,
Yeah.
and one little girl expresses that like she wants to be a birth mother when she grows up, and everyone's like, oh, but that's like the lowest position for women. Like I don't know. It's so weird. Like they have this weird society that everybody's equal, but not really.
Mhm.
And it's like they tried to get rid of judgment and feelings, but they still exist.
Yeah.
Um, oh, and then there's like a little baby,
Little baby.
and yeah, and they're twins, and the dad in the family works in sort of like natal care,
Mhm.
and there aren't allowed to be twins in this
Hmm.
society. So there's this pair of twins, and they have to monitor which one shows signs of being stronger, and the other one will be quote unquote released
Hmm.
from the community. And at the end, Jonas, who's the main character, sees his father performing a release ceremony for this child. And if you don't want spoilers, guys, go away now, turn your sound off, whatever. But the release is actually euthanization. So, but obviously the dad doesn't understand it, um, because these people also have no concept of death anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody dies in this world; they are released. So, like when old people get really old, they throw them a big party. The old person goes into this room where they're going to go through and be released, and but really they're just euthanized.
Wow.
So when Jonas sees this of like because his family was taking care, they sort of had like a foster care thing going with one of the twins.
Mhm.
The other twin was staying with a different family,
Mhm.
and he was saying that like this twin was less um was developing more slowly than the other twin,
Mhm.
And he was like, that means like this baby's gonna be euthanized. So he like puts him in the basket of his bicycle and like ET's out of there.
Mhm.
And like, it's just so, and it's so sad to see like these people have no idea even what they're doing,
Mhm.
or what is happening, and they can't feel anything anymore.
They're just
It's
like
just,
robots doing a function they're programmed to do and not think about.
yeah. And there's one section where like the little sister is talking about being angry one day, and she describes being angry, and her family like talks about it, and they're like, you shouldn't be angry, just talk about your feelings or something like that. And then she's like, you're right. And the brother is there, and it's the beginning of the story, and he's like, wow, I can't believe, she felt like that, and I'm glad she worked it out. And then later she tells a similar story about being angry, and he's like, that's not angry, you were just put out, like a little bit irritated, and like
Mhm.
you've never been angry in your life, none of you have. And they
Yeah.
all just kind of like look at him, and they're like, what? It's just and then the isolation of knowing these things, and like nobody understands them.
Yeah.
It's a good book, guys.
It's so good.
Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half. Do
Yeah.
you
I think
feel
it's a
like you
good
probably
place
want
to
to
cut.
retire since you're not feeling good?
Yeah, and I got some stuff I gotta read for school and stuff that I want to get done. And
Gross.
yeah, I know.
Reading.
Reading.
What is
It's the
that?
worst thing. It's being that we just had an entire episode based off of books we read.
Yeah.
Ugh, reading.
Gross.
Gross.
Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks for
Well,
totally listening in.
we will be more energetic next week.
Yeah, when I'm not
And
dying.
yeah, and we won't have as much technical difficulties, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. You can't make any promises though.
All
This entire
right.
show is recorded on a with an 8-track shoved inside of a potato. So we're lucky we get Wi-Fi. So yeah.
With like a little antenna out the window.
Yeah.
Actually, Connor and I are just talking across states with like 2 tin cans on a string.
Yeah. Yep. With a wireless router somewhere in between. Oh my gosh! If only that's how technology. It's like you ever watch Codename Kid Next Door?
Yeah.
That's how literally like their technology worked. It was so great. It was so
Yeah.
simple.
They had like this multi-line phone that was just tin cans on a string.
Yeah. Uh, well, we're signing off.
All
See you
right. Yeah.
next week. Toodaloo.
Bye.
Oh, we still don't have a name for our fans. I guess plebs.
We keep calling them plebs. We might as well stick with it.
Yeah. Good night, plebs.
Good night.
Uh,